Uh, Festival of Poetry, the agony and the ecstasy is one moment you would be laughing, and then the next session you would probably be thinking very deeply. And the next moment you're laughing again. So it's kind of a lot of emotions in a day. It's almost like a roller coaster ride. And from the light-hearted, intelligent, witty banter that we just saw, we now traverse to a very, very different space. As Navin Kishore lays bare the nature of our outer and inner realities, using striking symbolism to reveal what human beings are capable of doing to each other. In revealing his pain, he actually uncovers our scars. Over to Navin Kishore, who's sharing works from Knotted Grief.
I tend to mumble sometimes, so just yell at me when I am incoherent. I'm here to read from my book, The Knotted Grief, which happened quite by chance and accident. One would think that as a publisher for 40 years, it should be very easy for me to publish my own drivel. But it was like any first-time writer, poet, author, where you had to be discovered, because I didn't want to publish it as myself, as Seagull Books. And some of my poems, like a lot of poets here, get published in journals, and a publisher in Australia called Gazebo discovered some and said, "Oh, you write?" I said, "Yes." "Do you have a book?" And I said, "No, but I have lots of poems." So I sent them a whole bunch of poems to do with the human condition through my experience of growing up some 342 years ago in Kashmir. And so the book started off as not reporting from the ground or the streets, but discussing what was happening around us as a human condition. So it could be Lebanon or Syria or Palestine. It just happened to be Kashmir. And so the first section is a kind of long set of short poems called Kashmiriyat, about 105 of them. You're lucky I'm not going to read all of them. And the rest is a kind of very intimate grief triggered off by the death of two mothers, mine and a close friend's. And in the hands of an editor who edited the volume, the grief becomes almost political, and you can't tell whether you're talking of personal loss or you're talking of a national loss. So just with that, somebody keep an eye on the watch and tell me when to stop. Yeah, okay. Is this better? Okay, great. So Knotted Grief. I shall begin with literally the first line as the book opens. Wearing a transparent shadow, the young widow waits and waits. And now a few short poems from Kashmiriyat. Uncaged, this long ailing night left to die, like an aging raven, unused to flying, flailing its wings. Mortified, this cagelessness humiliating. Smothered flame of candle crushed between thumb and forefinger, charred night. Burst into flames, solitary flower, immolate your petals, detonating like suicide wests, making pale the glitter of the stars, the sky, shredded raining fire, scorching an earth already weary of its own blood. Take back the night. Shatter stillness, the night on crutches. The sun, shrouded in a cloak of night, refusing point blank to rise. Birds stripped of sight seeking refuge in a sky full of bullet wounds. And a slightly longer one from this section, and then I'll end. Head first, into the wall, also white, crumpling into a shivering daze on spinning floor with a bang and a crash. Breath panting for breath, breathlessly swallowing, gasping air, gasping for breath out of breath, eyes wide, rolling over and over before closing, shutting down, clanging like shutters, ungreased metal, rusted with years, the light no longer white, yellow with age, hinges squeaking. For oil, remembering, gaze fixed on unseen further point, in the fog, dense. Remember leaves losing sheen at the moment of their passing, falling sheet, floating down light as light, weightless, almost crumpled shadow of light in a room emptied of thought. All of it. This is a section called Street Full of Widows. Across the barbed wire, bisecting the curfew, stand 3 women, their bodies covered in black. Only the red of the eyes guides them to graveyards. Covered in snow this month of August, foretelling the bitter winter. Watch the men run, die. Streets full of widows. The deserted street allows the child to play hopscotch. She hops on one leg, then the other, muttering names of missing friends under her breath. The lake waters listen in silence. No one speaks ill of the dead here. No one speaks. Tongue hidden deep in your throat, you swallow. At the end of the longest street, crouching shadows awaiting transport. Just when you think you've seen enough, the night explodes and another day begins. There are no more white lilies in the valley. Where will you be this summer, wind mother? When the temperatures rise like memory and the train tracks refuse, the haze diminishes, the distance of not arriving, not getting there where the mirror glints there, where the one doesn't greet the other, there, where the haze diminishes, where the one doesn't meet the other, nor the distance of not arriving, nor getting there, where the mirror glints, there where, to hell with it, I'll write you a letter and post it. And this is a poem that gives the book its name. Braided silence, learning to live with knotted grief. You do your own thing when you sing the grieving. Yes, you do your own thing when you do sing your grieving. Knotted silence, braided grief. Yes, you do learn to do your own thing. Knotted braids, grieving, silence, knotted braids, grieving, silence. Hear it yourself, first slowly, then in rhythm, with your own silence. Braided grief, you learn to chase your gods into a corner, hide their light, plunge into darkness, tie them up in knotted grief. Braided silence. I think maybe one last one. This is a tough one, even I can't read it. Here we go. Stage the blues, she said, to no one in particular, and much to her delight, I imagine. The stage she had strayed onto in that vast and empty auditorium turned a shade of silvery blue as she kicked off her bebop, rebop sandals, flung backpack wingwards, and humped away swiftly like a modern-day ballerina, dancing the emptiness, the time tapper staying in tune as the shadows dogged her blurs and her slurs, as the swing band even raised its tempo brurs and grurs, and shido, tido, gubba, gubbas, a salt and a tumbleweed lightness, as she flung herself right and down to the floor, raised swiftly to the ceiling, rolled, rock-stocked into rippity blues. As the frenzied and the fancied finger-snapping twos and threes came out with their maves, singing under their breath about summer, marching in to when the saints came marching in, and love is in the air, and you could hear their hearts beating as they circled around the girl, now spinning like a machine drill, boring her way through the stage floor as she begins her descent. Thank you.